Okay, everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Dave Bailey, Assistant Principal and Director of Guidance at Ridgewood High School, joined with three school counselors tonight, Christine Salerno, Lauren Hellman, and Laura Loria. So we thank you for joining us tonight. This will all be recorded and we will share it out with the community, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon. But this is the first of at least two college speaker series that we host as a guidance department for our community. And really the goal is to just educate our community and talk more about the process that is ever changing in college admissions. So we have a few exciting things coming up in the next weeks that I'm going to share with you. But what I wanted really to do tonight was to have four of us in the department really talk directly to you as the parents, and to give you an opportunity to ask us questions directly. So we're going to go through a couple of slides here, and we have an initial presentation that'll be about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'd really like to hear from you. And you can use our chat box, and you should be able to ask us questions directly. So the first thing I'd like to do is we are going to have a few polls tonight. So we're going to launch the first poll question. We want to see who is out there in the audience and who you're representing, what grade level. So here we go. Take a few minutes to answer that poll.
This is very exciting.
Yeah, we're not Zoom. We're Google Meet people at Ridgewood High School, so we're a little, this is exciting for us on Zoom. Okay, so looks like we have a pretty good mix. So 11th graders are in the lead, but definitely every grade level is represented. So thank you. So that helps us, give you kind of the best programming tonight. So we appreciate you answering the first poll. Poll closing. Okay. And we'll share the results. There you go. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Wow, exciting. Okay. So let's go to the start of our presentation here. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Sorry. Let me go to the start. So tonight's agenda, again, is a shorter agenda. It is a presentation on some specific topics in college admissions. What we want to do is we have our 12th grade meeting, parent meeting. We have our 11th grade parent meeting. We have a 10th and a 9th, but in the 12th and 11th, we talk mostly about college admissions and post-graduation plans. So what we wanted to do is just dive a little bit deeper into some specific topics tonight. And then we're going to have the Q&A panel with the counselors just to allow you to ask us any questions or anything that's on your mind. And hopefully we can help you. So the goals, the goals are to just continue providing platforms and opportunities for us to educate our students and parents on the college admissions process. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of content. So we're trying to inform you about what we know and what we see and what we deal with every day from a Ridgewood High School perspective, but also understand that sometimes too much knowledge can be paralyzing. So we want to make sure we inform you without overwhelming you. So, second poll. All right, let's launch this. Can you see this one? No, let me stop sharing that one. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so when a student applies to a college, what is the most important part of his or her application? Give you a few more seconds. Okay, thank you. So here are the results. So the high school transcript and the academic record was the winner, and then the others kind of averaged out a little bit towards the end. So correct. And this is, so as much as the college admissions process has changed in the last few years, and we'll talk about that a little later, The one thing that has stayed the same is the high school transcript, the academic record, the classes a student takes at his or her high school based on the curriculum offered and how they perform in those classes is far and away and continues to be the number one factor that colleges are looking at when students apply and when they're making decisions. So all of these other factors are a part of the application, and they tell a story of a student, whether it's extracurricular activities, test scores, letters of recommendation, demonstrated interest. All of these things have a factor and tell the total story, but the high school transcript and academic record continues through all of this to be the most important piece. So I want to also share with you, this is from NACAC, so the National Association for College Admission Counseling. They had their big conference in Baltimore last month, and we had multiple counselors go to that and learn about the latest trends in college admissions from people all over the country. And if you see, I'm going to take you to this piece, and all this will be shared with you. But the percentage of colleges attributing considerable importance to factors in admissions decisions, all right, for freshmen. So you see this goes from 2012 to 2023. And what you notice is high school grades in college prep courses. So high school grades has really stayed pretty steady in the last decade, even through COVID, okay? And this, obviously there was a few years where they weren't ever able to measure, but on the other side of COVID and all of the application spikes in the last 3 years, that has really held steady. Some things that have decreased a little bit, not surprisingly, you see it was 56% and now 5% of colleges weigh test scores as considerably important. Class rank has really deteriorated over the last decade, but even more so, okay? And then, furthermore, AP testing down here. So this is really just good information for parents and students to know, and really reinforces to us the most important piece of the transcript, which is how the students do or the most important part of the application process, which is how the students do over a 4-year period at their high school. That really shows the colleges if academically they are a good fit for their school. Okay, we have another poll. All right, if I apply early decision to a school, I will have a much better chance of admission. Okay. So if I apply early decision to a school, 66% of you thought you will have a much better chance of admission. And I jumped the gun a little bit on this poll, Laura, but do you want to comment on that?
Sure. So this is a question that counselors get a lot when students are trying to make a choice of, do I apply ED? This might be a reach school. Will I have a better chance? Our stance is students should only apply early decision if it's their dream school. It's their number one school. It's the best fit for them. We will see sometimes with statistics that perhaps colleges are admitting students that have a higher percentage of an admit rate through early decision. That may be the case that they're accepting more through early decision as compared to regular decision. However, those schools that are still a reach or a super reach, highly competitive schools still remain highly competitive. So even if a school is that reach school, it still will be considered a reach, even if a student wants to apply ED. Students still at the end of the day has to meet those academic requirements to be competitive for those schools. So while those numbers on paper might look a little friendlier than if they apply regular decision, those chances aren't going to be tremendously greater at the end of the day, depending on the school.
Thank you, Laura. So one thing we did at Ridgewood High School over the last few years is really focus on controlling what we can control. And one of our most important jobs is communicating to the colleges the rigor, the academic rigor of our classroom and our school, and also portraying our students in the best possible light. So we do that in a number of ways. One is the school profile, which we've updated multiple times. And another is the high school transcript, which we did update this summer. So I wanted to show you some of the updates. They're small things, but we think they could really make a big difference in the admissions process. And the goal is to make it as easy as possible and efficient as possible for admission counselors who are viewing these applications. So let me show you. Hopefully you can all see this. This is our updated Ridgewood High School transcript. And I'll point out a few changes. So we've made it a little bit sleeker and easier to read, but we've also updated our weighting key. Okay, so we've simplified it. So we have obviously AP is an advanced placement course, H is honors, and then we used to have college prep. And what we did was we also added college prep enriched. And those are for those advanced college prep classes. They're still on a 4.0 scale. But if you think about biology advanced, algebra 2E, American studies, there's 6 to 7 courses that are accelerated college prep level courses. American studies is an honors course. That's not a good example. But what we wanted to do was just show that those courses are a little bit accelerated, but they're still on a 4.0 scale. Any students in a resource room class, like a special education resource room, or have a G next to the classes, and the key shows college prep survey. Okay, so it does not show special education. So the key, we hope, is cleaner and will help our students. We anticipate that. We also added a GPA for each school year. So you'll notice this pretend student has a 3.81 GPA freshman year, and then they went to a 4.15 for their sophomore year, and then a 4.1 for their junior year. And then over here is their total GPA. So we have a weighted academic GPA, and then we have, which is all core classes in math, English, social studies, science, world languages, business, and some honors level courses in computer science. And then the unweighted GPA is every single course a student takes at Ridgewood High School, and every course is on a 4.0 scale. Okay, so these GPAs are both helpful for colleges, and we continue to keep both of them. So I wanted to show you the new and improved transcript. I want you to know that our department is working on improving every single year and trying, again, to show our students in the best possible light. Okay, with that, I'm going to kick it over to Laura, who has some information on the common data set.
Thanks. So we've started talking a little bit more about the common data set. You may have heard us mention this. We spoke about it during the senior parent night, but the common data set, when you hear of this, it's a collection of statistics and standardized questions that each college will publicly report at the end of each year. So if you want to go to Google and just Google the name of a college, common data set, you will see the results populate. I'm going to use Lehigh here as an example. So the common data set is, again, it's organized by different sections that you would want to learn about a school. It has general information, enrollment information, information about transfer students. We are specifically interested in the admission information. So you can always find this in section C. So that is always where we go to first. So again, section C, first time applicant information. So a reason why the common data set is our friend is that it will give us answers to questions that we are looking for, that we care about through this process, specifically admission rate, male versus female. That's the first thing it tells us right here. If we scroll on down, it will also give us information about the wait list. Some schools will take 2 students off their wait list. Some will take more. And this will tell us how many students Lehigh took off their wait list last year. If we scroll down, we can find additional information. That first poll that we did, I think it was the first or second poll about what is important to a school. So if we scroll down to that second page there, we keep going right here. So we have different factors that schools will consider. We've heard from every college that they do a holistic review, right? We've heard this from every school that they look at everything, but what are they really taking into account and how important are those factors? So this chart is a great way to really see what is Lehigh really taking into account here. Do they really care about demonstrated interest? That last column, level of applicants' interest, that's under important. So we would say to students, it's really important to follow up, reach out, communicate with our reps at Lehigh, because that is something that they're tracking. What's something that's not considered? Religious affiliation. So again, this is going to vary based on the college. So this is, again, just giving us some information about what the school considers important in the application process. And then if we continue to scroll down, another piece of information that we find very helpful is when it comes to testing. We will help students when they have that very common question, do we submit test scores or not? And again, we will only encourage students to submit test scores if they meet that average 50% score range or not. So if we scroll down a little bit more, Mr. Bailey, we're going to find that average 50% number right here. So it tells us right in that chart what that 50% mark is. So we say to students, if you are in that 50% happy zone, then you're in a good spot. We'll look at maybe a few other things if it makes sense for you to submit your scores. So again, we're using information that is published by the colleges. We don't have a crystal ball. We're not taking a guess. We're using this data to help us determine what's going to be the best piece of information to send. So again, common data set, very helpful. You can, again, Google it or directly on the college website. If you want to just search within the website college data set, you'll see that information there. I've also included a link here. Ethan Sawyer has a very helpful blog of a little more breakdown of what the common data set is and how you can use it. All right, and I think—
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate Yep, thank you. And just so you know, we're going to get to questions in a few minutes here. So you can add them to the chat and then we'll open it up. So just another poll now. Okay. Couple true false here. So the more letters of recommendation I send, the stronger my application becomes. Okay. So 77% said false and 23% said true. Okay, so let's do the next question as well because it's similar. If I do not send my test scores to a test optional college, my application will be weaker and my chances of admission will decrease. Okay, so similar, about 71%, well, exactly 71% said false here and 29% said true. So let's go back to question 4 and anyone from the panel who wants to jump in. So the more letters we send, does that should increase and make our application stronger? True or false?
I'm gonna jump in. I will say that is false. On the very basic, if we think about colleges are getting more and more college applications, the more we send them to read, the less likely they're going to read them, right? So I think it's really important that we send I always say, like, we never like to anger the admission gods, so just send them what they're asking for, and that's it. And so if they're asking for 2 teacher letters of recommendation, then we need to do what they're asking, right? And send the 2 teacher letters of recommendation, typically from their junior year core teachers. And you can have a discussion with your counselor about that, but that's typical rule of thumb. There are some exceptions, and we know that, but I would say no. We get asked often, like, well, my cousin's an alum, or, my dad's dentist brother is on the board, and is that going to do anything? I'm going to get a letter. And that's fine, but just know that those letters probably won't get read. So, sometimes we'll say to the students, let's just do what they ask us to do first. And then if you get deferred and we need to send more stuff, maybe that's where some of those letters might push you over the edge to the next round of things. But in the very beginning, you have to trust the process that we need to just do what they're asking.
And Mrs. Hellman, if to the test optional question, if we do not send scores to a test optional college,
Sure.
the application weaker and chances of admission, will it decrease?
Sure. So if a school is telling you they're test optional, they are truly test optional. But the most important thing that we want our students to understand is we're not going to advise students not to send scores if we don't think it would help them to not send scores. So we're going to take a look at their overall profile. We're going to look at the common data set that Miss Loria talked about. We're going to assess whether or not it makes sense for the student to send scores. If a counselor is telling a student not to send scores to a test optional college, it means it wouldn't help them to send the scores, and it's going to benefit them more for the college to look at their achievement, their transcript, and their GPA alone. So these are conversations that we have all the time with students and parents, and we identify which schools make sense to send scores to and which don't. But if a college is telling us that they're test optional, they truly are test optional, and it will not hinder their application.
Thank you. And this has become more and more difficult as less and less kids send scores. So what the most important piece is the high school academic record and transcript. So if the test scores support that transcript, then it's another piece of evidence that's going to strengthen the application. We will send. If not, we won't send. So it really takes some experience and some guidance from your counselors. So please, this time of year for seniors is a really, this is a good time to be having those conversations if you have not already. And our counselors are experienced in making those decisions for 70 to 80 kids every single year. Okay, last poll question. Okay, I like this one. Can you see it? No, I don't think you can. Stop sharing that one. All right. So if a college has an acceptance rate of 20%, this means that I have a 1 in 5 chance of being admitted to that college. Okay. So 79% said that is false. If only it were that easy, that if it were 20% acceptance rate, you had a 1 in 5 chance of getting in. So that is correct. That is false. But can we talk a little bit about the reasons why?
Okay, I'm going to jump in. This was my favorite question. Each school has their own set of institutional priorities. This is what they're looking for from each class when they're shaping their class. You're going to hear some admissions counselors talk about this if you listen to as many podcasts that I do and the counselors do in the car and just to get more information. But when they're shaping their class, these are things that they're looking for from their applicants. They are never going to come out and tell us what those things are, what these institutional priorities are. So it's hard to identify if you're that student who's meeting that. So again, if you're looking at an acceptance rate that is 20%, you might have a 20% chance if you are meeting those specific institutional priorities.
Yeah, and that's where counselors again can really help because there are even laws out there for different schools depending on the state that some people aren't aware of. I'll give you an example. University of North Carolina. So every public school in North Carolina has to follow the 82-18 rule, which is 82% of each of the public university's freshman class must be North Carolina residents. So UNC Chapel Hill, which is a very popular school for our kids, is a public school. So right off the bat, they can only take 18% of that class from out of state or the international pool. So UVA is 66% needs to be in state. So there's all these little things so when that you need to know and be aware of, and we can help guide individually with our students. So this slide here we wanted to share because there is so much information out there. We just wanted to share some resources that we trust in the guidance department, and these are people that I read and listen to all the time. This Inside the Yale Admissions Office podcast, they're trying. They don't tell you as much as I would like, but it is two counselors on staff, and I appreciate them kind of trying to help students and parents and high school counselors out. So it is pretty easy to listen to podcasts, and they go into different topics that are important. And we are not connected to any of these people. We just we just respect their work, and we do lean on them. Anyone else want to talk about some of our other friends here?
Sure. Senior parents, if you've been on your student senior focus Google Classroom, you'll have seen things posted from the college essay guy. We utilize his website and resources a great deal. Every day in my email, there pretty much is a webinar to sign up for about something. The other night I sat in on school profile stuff. I'm signed up for some essay thing next week. So we along with sharing it with the kids, we're sitting in on these webinars as well, just listening to what they're seeing and the messages they're putting out on their websites. And as I've said, we've shared some of that with the kids. So we do that. And counselors that were at NACAC, the National Association for College Admission Counselor annual conference last month, he presented. So they got to hear him, and I don't know, we're like groupies with this stuff. It's kind of exciting. As the picture here of Mr. Salingo, Jeff Salingo, we definitely are groupies. We follow his newsletter, his podcasts. When he presented last year, when Mrs. Loria, Mr. Bailey, and I were at NACAC, we pretty much followed him around until he would, give us a book. So we are definitely following, and his book is actually quite interesting. And if you haven't read it or are starting to get into this, some of these books are worth the read. Who Gets In and Why. He's very honest, very clear cut, and he's done his research. So this isn't just his opinion, this is fact. Right? So that's why we appreciate him. And then the same thing with Rick Clark's book, The Truth About College Admission. And he does take it from a family perspective, and how to work through it together as a family, because yes, your child is the one going. It is a family decision, and it is a family process. So it is actually very helpful just to kind of how to stay positive and how to not get caught up in all the minutia and everything, all the little things that you're hearing. It kind of tries to keep you on track for what to tune out and when to tune into.
Laura, you want to talk about the college essay guy?
Sure. So as Mrs. Salerno said, he hosts a number of webinars, but there are great free resources that we linked on the senior classroom page, specifically about writing essays and supplements. So, I'm just picturing all the seniors right now who are drafting their supplements. So if you're stuck on how to approach those common why college, or why us, why major questions. He has some great outlines on how to answer those questions, and how to kind of approach the college essay, just because it's so different than writing any kind of traditional English or history essays that students are used to writing. So lots of free resources on his site. So definitely recommend checking that out.
Okay, so with that being said, that ends the presentation part of the evening. So we wanted to just give you just some different insights and go a little deeper into a few topics. So we'd like to open it up to any questions in the chat. I think the best way to do this, we do have quite a few people in here, would just be to type in your questions. We'll try to get to all of them, take about a half hour or so. I do want to address the first one I'm seeing is, so right now the transcript, we just finished the update about 3 weeks ago. So it's for our seniors right now. That's like the first go around with this new transcript. And then the underclassmen transcripts will be moving to align with the senior transcripts in the upcoming months. So give us a few months, but you'll all have access to those eventually. Okay, but right now it is for seniors.
For senior parents, if they're, I think there's a question if for a senior parent wanting to see their child's transcript. So if they want to see them, we can email that to you. Just email your child's counselor.
And first quarter grades are not automatically sent out. So there's a question, does RHS send first quarter grades automatically to schools? No. So we will go over that process with your students. We have a form for that, and it's by student request. Okay. The first semester grades, which will be in early February, they will be sent out automatically. Okay. We'll update colleges on the progress of our students. If students are struggling or have had a tough first semester, we will hold them back until they ask for it, and give the students a chance to get caught up. But otherwise, we want to send them out to update the colleges on the progress. All right, so let's see here. So one on dual enrollment courses. So for those students that are getting college credits based on high school classes, how, if at all, does that show on the transcript, or do we need to submit that as a separate thing for admission? Yeah, so it doesn't show up on the transcript. However, maybe someone wants to take where that shows up as far as on the application, and then once they're admitted, how to send those credits in.
Yeah, I'll take it. The students can self-report if they've taken a dual enrollment class through another college or university. So most of our students who've done this have done it through BCC or Fairleigh Dickinson. So that can be self-reported under academics on the common application. And then you can contact the college directly for a transcript to be sent to the university. Typically just a self-report initially is usually fine for the admission process. And then once the once your child is accepted to the college and decides to go, then you can follow up with a transcript so that can be evaluated as to whether or not the college would accept credit.
Mrs. Salerno, do you have a better chance declaring undecided or business?
It will depend on the school. Schools that are well known for their business program, that is, again, we say these things. This is have a conversation with your counselor kind of question. But my general answer would be, it is going to depend on the school. If they are well known for their business program and their statistics are higher, you may be better off going in undeclared. However, some programs won't allow you in to transfer in. So it will be on a school by school basis.
So the one question about international schools and how it all plays out, I'll be honest, we don't have as much experience with that. So we really try to focus on, but we do help students with that process and the application process with the deadlines and all that. But if you have anything to add to that, any of my colleagues, but yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
I'll just add that for international schools, typically schools in Europe or other parts of the world, because there's no way for them to kind of evaluate the transcript in the same fashion that,
This is your school, Mrs. Hellman, Mrs. Mr.
All right.
Sorry about that. I will say standardized test scores for schools abroad are more important. Many schools, particularly in Europe and the UK, will have very specific standardized test score standards for students that need to be evaluated, that need to be completed before students apply. So sometimes it's especially if your child is in 9th or 10th grade, 11th grade, now is definitely a good time to start researching what those specific standards would be and what classes your child might need to take to be accepted to a particular international university. So I would say it's very different than the US process, and in terms of what criteria they value in their evaluation.
Thank you, Mrs. Hellman. I'll take this one. So with CP and CPE both being on a 4.0 scale, is there a plan to increase the weighting of CPE in the future to match the increased level of work? So I'll say this, we are always looking at how we can show our students in the best light. So these discussions have been occurring. We decided at first to go with a CPE notation on the transcript to let the colleges know that it is an accelerated college prep course. We've always had in the last 10 to 20 years at Ridgewood High School these accelerated college prep courses. And especially freshman year, part of our philosophy is unless it's a double accelerated math student, we want all our students to be in college prep courses to kind of all be on the same level to transition to the high school, to acclimate as a young teenager, and then for our teachers to have a year with them and then recommend them accordingly. So it even was a little bit of a risk in putting an E next to that, because I know some students and parents may think that that's like a huge edge. And of course, the next question will be, well, can you add a little bit of weight to that as well? So as of now, no, there's not an immediate plan to do that, but we'll continue to monitor. And I'm always, Mr. Nias, myself, all the counselors, we're always trying to make the best decisions for our kids, but there's always two sides to it when you make these types of decisions, especially in a very competitive environment like Ridgewood and Ridgewood High School. So, but we are, I can tell you, are constantly talking about these things. And I do think it was the right move to move those courses to CPE at this time. For Miss Loria or Mrs. Salerno, test optional institutions, if you're not sending these results, won't they assume I didn't do well?
So no, if they're test optional, they truly mean it. I remind students and parents, you only get 7 to 12 minutes if you're lucky for your application to be reviewed. They don't have time to sit there and think, now, why didn't Johnny submit those scores if he got an A+ in, the higher math class? So they don't really have time to sit there and think about why did the student do this and not do that for the application. So again, if test optional, it truly is up to the student if they want to submit or not.
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and it does speak to, there's still a lot of there's still a lack of transparency, like we feel at the high school level with the college and with the college admissions process. And sometimes there's like mixed signals that they send us, and it's frustrating because we're dealing with teenagers and kids, and it's an anxious time in their lives. It's also a very exciting time and fun time, but these are some difficult decisions, but I really, really trust our counselors, and they can help you using the data from the last 3 years and making individual decisions on individual students and the schools they're applying to. And sometimes you'll send to a few schools and you'll hold off sending to the others. So it really takes some real individual counseling. That leads into the next one. Would it be possible to get some statistics on the colleges RHS applied to and where they were admitted and where they went? So not only is it possible, it is here. So each year we give a senior survey, and we've been doing this for, I've been at Ridgewood High School since 2010. I think the senior survey has been, for the last quarter century. So we have a lot of data over the last 20 to 25 years. I also have right here, I bring it everywhere. this is every school profile ever at Ridgewood High School since 1979. So we have data that goes very far back, and it shows some really interesting trends. But for the senior survey, to answer your question directly, let me share my screen real quick. It is on our, I'm not gonna actually share it. It's on our high school website. So Laura or Christine, maybe you can just share a link to the website of where they would find that. But we have each class. So our latest was the class of 2023, the senior survey. Also through SCORE, you can go back and look at historical data on individual colleges. So we have a lot of data, and it's really helpful, like the last 2 or 3 years where, you know, we've seen a lot of changes in college admissions. So it's helpful to look at trends over the last couple of years. If I missed anything there, please feel free to jump in. Okay, this is a good one. I'm going through this for the first time. I'm trying to understand what the overall timeline of the process is. How and when do we think about schools? When do we visit schools? How do we start applying? Again, just the overall process. It seems like by this time, October of senior year, you need to be submitting. And I just want to preface this. I'm going to let the counselors take it. But part of the guidance programming, and I'm the director, so it's kind of one of my main jobs is through the calendar year, it's very cyclical. So each part of the year right now, where it was really freshmen transitioning into the high school and then right into the seniors. And then once the seniors get through the November 1 deadlines, we'll kind of move into the juniors and then the sophomores. So we have programming built in to help students and parents with this process, but I'll let the counselors specify.
I can jump in here. So when we meet with the students in senior focus, the first couple weeks of school, one of the very first things we say to them is, we're doing this now because many of you are at this point. However, there are those of you that are not ready and will not do everything early and need a little bit more time to look at colleges, make some decisions, and you'll be doing things more in January, February. So while it seems like this is the hullabaloo right now with the seniors, they are all at their own pace. Yes, students are submitting things now in October, and those will be the students that have decided on schools that have an October 15th deadline or a November 1st or November 15th. So yes, those students are very busy right now. The guidance office is very busy helping those students. But there are also students that are coming into our offices and saying, I haven't started anything yet. I need help. Can you get me started? Absolutely, right? So as Mr. Bailey said, we try and work with them little by little so that it doesn't become overwhelming, but some students are just not ready, whether it be they got serious about school a little later than some others. And so they've just finally figured out like, hey, no, this is something I really do want to do. And we'll work with them. So we try to value the student's journey, their personal journey, as to where they are. So if your student has not started yet, they are not late, but they should have a meeting with their counselor so that we can all be on the same page as to where they are in the process, so that we can help them. And so they don't get overwhelmed. Having conversations, sticking to deadlines, and just expressing where they are and what they're feeling will help everybody to not be overwhelmed.
I also want to, that was great. I also want to jump in and talk to my 40% of the room, my freshman and sophomore parents too. This is, again, like totally new to some parents. Let's start this process. And I always say, especially to sophomores too, we want to start by having fun. This is an exciting time after high school. The student and with the parents get to decide the next step. Visiting schools is a great place to start. And again, we are so focused on fit. We're not focused on the name of the school. It's all about that fit. So for freshmen, for sophomores, for juniors even, go visit schools. Go visit different types of environments. Go look at a traditional college campus that you would see on TV with a quad, green space. Go look at an urban campus. Go look at a big university. Go look at a small school. We have a lot of schools within close driving location. Don't focus on the name for now. Go look at schools that are within a drive. Make it a fun thing. Drive up to Boston, stop in New Haven for pizza on the way. Make it a fun family experience so that the whole process is not a downer. And again, you're looking for that feedback once you're on campus. If the student doesn't like the school, that's okay. The student's not going to love every school, but why don't they like it? And it's important to get that specific feedback that they come back and share with us. So that's a really wonderful place to start. And if you're not even sure which schools to start with, your counselor will be able to suggest different types of schools and environments that you might want to head out and see. I will say, as the teacher convention, the long weekend approaches, there are going to be a lot of schools that are hosting open houses and tours. Please try to sign up early because those will start to fill up. So just try to think ahead and sign up for any tours that you'd like to go visit.
I just want to mention also for the parent who asked this question, I'm not sure what grade your child is in, but there will be a junior parent meeting November 14th that's sort of our kickoff for the process for parents. And then we invite families to come in and meet with your child's counselor with you to discuss specifically your child's academic profile, interests, academic interests and career goals. And then we will help kind of design a list and get you off on the right start so that, you can start, if you haven't already, going on some of the visits Miss Lori is talking about.
Okay, next question. So we think this is a REACH school. So what is a REACH school? I think that's what you said. Can you please share some examples? So if anyone could talk about the balance of the list.
Sure. So we typically recommend students apply to about 9 or 10 schools. Some students will apply to a few more than that. But usually we are advising students to have a comprehensive list of 2 or 3 likely schools, 2 or 3 target schools, and 2 or 3 REACH schools. So the likely schools would be your child's academic profile would be higher than what they typically admit. A target school would be your child's academic profile is very much on point with what they typically admit. And a REACH school is your child's academic profile might be a little bit lower than what they typically admit, but that might be a REACH school or a dream school for your child. So if they have a comprehensive list that includes 2 or 3 schools from all of those areas, it will be a really nice process for your child. They're going to get a lot of college acceptances, and it's going to be a great journey. But the thing that we emphasize most is that they really try to get excited about those likely schools and those target schools. If they're just throwing on schools because they know that their profile is higher than what that school typically admits, but they don't really intend to go, they haven't researched it, they can't envision themselves there, that's not really a good likely school to have on the list. So making sure the likely schools are also a good fit for them. And then having a few schools from those other areas that we talk about, that's what makes a really good list.
And this year's class, the class of 23, the average applications per student was right about 9. So that's gone kind of back down. It got into 10 and a half in the last 2 years, but now we're back down to 9, which it was, and that's really a good goal, is that 8 to 12 range, as long as there's balance in that list. And that takes a lot of the work and discussion. So junior year, which again, that'll start November 14th with our junior year parent meeting. And I will just say, and I do repeat this a lot, but 82% of our class of 23 last year was accepted to one of their top 3 schools. And the year before that, it was 81.5%. It's usually right in the lower 80s. So 4 to 5 students are going to one of their top 3 schools. And the other 20%, and I always show this list of schools, are still going to really great places. We always have surprises. some good, some disappointing. That's every year since I've been doing this. So we just have to work with families individually and students individually. That's when the counseling really, the work really happens, because we're dealing with young people here. But 4 out of 5 are going to one of their top 3 schools. That's been really consistent throughout our time at Ridgewood High School. Do 9th grade advanced classes get marked as such on the transcript, or are all 9th grade classes categorized the same on the transcript? So our biology advanced, algebra 1 advanced, those advanced courses, freshman year, history of the modern world, English world views, those 4, they will have a CPE next to them. So it's still a 4.0, but it will, they will be under the CP enriched weighting key. So this was a question about class rank. So can we allow seniors in the top 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% to know their approximate ranking? This can help them stand out for admission and merit scholarships. Class ranking by weighted GPA is important for colleges, both for admission and for merit scholarship. Common App has, are you in the class ranking 5, 10, 15, 20%? So Mr. Nias, and this is a great question, and I've actually met with a parent about this recently, and it's a question that's come up publicly, and we will be addressing this in more detail on the November 20th meeting, the Board of Ed meeting, Mr. Nias and myself, about why we do not rank students at Ridgewood High School. And the basic reason is because it's not what's best for our kids. It's not what's best for our kids as teenagers in our building to be ranked 1 through 417 for our current class. And it's also not helping in any way for the college admissions process other than the number 1 kid. And maybe the top 10 kids. So number 1 through 9, 1 through 10, that could be impressive. After that, it's only going to hurt students. So I've been able to be mentored by Jeff Nias, who is our principal currently, and then before him was Peg Lunam, who I still work with, and she's a mentor of mine, and she was a director of guidance, and she was the one who changed this in the early 2000s, right around or late 1990s, but I think it was right around 2000, and we've talked about the reasons why. After she made the change, Bergen County followed. No one in Bergen County ranks anymore, including Bergen County academies. I actually have trouble finding schools that rank in this area. Scarsdale stopped ranking students in 1982. And there's reasons behind that, but I'll give you an example. If you have a 4.0 weighted GPA in the class of 24 at Ridgewood High School, your ranking is going to be approximately 89 or 90. So if we apply to the most selective schools in the country, and you have a 4.0 from Ridgewood High School, and let's just say you have a really nice test score, and you're applying to these colleges, and they see your transcript, and they know Ridgewood High School, and they see your extracurriculars and your leadership and your test scores and your letters and all of that, okay? And let's just pick a highly selective college. Let's just say Notre Dame, okay? And they're in front of that admissions person for 8 minutes. Do you want your child to have that? That's option A. Or option B is all of that, but also it's going to have a number that says 89. And what's Notre Dame going to do when they're seeing thousands and thousands of applications? They're going to say, oh, this is the 89th best kid at Ridgewood High School. That's just what they're going to see naturally as a human if we rank these kids. So that's not obviously best for that particular student. So, we really have these discussions and make decisions on what we think is best for kids. Right now, we really feel that it's not the right thing to do for kids to rank them. We do have a GPA distribution currently on our school profile, which gives colleges a general estimate of where a student would fall compared to their peers in our class. But we have no plans to go back to ranking. More and more high schools are getting away from ranking because, again, it's not helpful to students. And I'll leave you with this. When we used to rank back, say, around 2000, they used to have a ranking day where they would put the ranking up on the wall. And they'd have counselors on duty to help the kids. Because you can imagine a teenager walking around the school and saying, oh, I'm the number 230th kid in the school. They may do very well and should be very proud of that, but I don't want them tagged with a number. So I will say we're always looking, we're not like stuck in our ways. If this is better for kids down the road, we'd always look to do what's best for them. With merit scholarship, okay, they're going to see based on our GPA distribution, and if a college ever reached out to us, we're going to let them know behind the scenes where a student fits in our school. We would never hurt a student's chance, especially in today's climate, of receiving merit money. Okay, for the NJ Stars program, which is I encourage you to look up that program. The top 15% in each high school in New Jersey qualifies for the STARS program. It's a scholarship program in New Jersey for students who stay in state and that are in their top 15%. We share that information with the state every year. And with the academies, with the military academies, we share the information on rankings. So like we have the internal information, we just don't want to publicize it to the kids because we know that it would cause a lot more harm than good. And I'll let anyone else jump in on that, but I wanted to give my general philosophy.
Real quick, I was with an NYU rep yesterday. Ms. Salerno was speaking to another rep at another highly selective institution. We asked quickly, what are your thoughts on looking for rank? And they indicated that it's not something that they look for when they're reviewing a transcript specifically from Northern New Jersey.
But I will say, like, this is where it is confusing for even us and for students and parents is, okay, well, why is it included on the Common App then? Or why is it and the reason is most schools don't rank and will have the option not to rank. But if you do rank, it's going to make their job easier and easier to say no is the real reason. So that's why we're trying to protect our kids. And I want them to spend the full time looking at our students' resumes and not just labeling them as a number. Okay. So again, we're going to continue to learn more about this and reach out to colleges. And if the pendulum ever swings the other way, like I'm not stuck in my ways enough to think that we can't learn and grow and change as we move along. But right now, Bergen County, no school in Bergen County ranks. The only school that we could find in this area that ranks, we think, is Roxbury High School. But we are not alone in not ranking. When are junior student meetings scheduled? So we have the kickoff meeting on the 14th, and then typically December, January is junior meeting time with the counselors. That's a really important individual 45-minute to hour meeting where your counselor is going to work directly with your student and family on creating the first list of schools that you want to start looking at. So that's a really important meeting, and we'll contact you about scheduling. Is there a site that has all the college site visits listed? So SCORE has all of the colleges that visit Ridgewood High School. I assume that's what that question means. So SCORE for seniors, they have the ability to meet with the college reps as they visit Ridgewood High School. And we have typically over 100 schools that come through in the fall. I know we have a smaller overall class size than we have had in the past few years. Are we hearing the same from other high schools, or is that just us? I do not know. But we can ask the Bergen County directors of guidance. I'm in that group of other directors, but I'm not sure of neighboring high schools, their ebbs and flows of student population. Regarding testing, does SAT versus ACT matter? Can we just submit the best score? They will take either. So we encourage our students to prepare for multiple tests or just to focus on one. They do not have a preference on their end. Again, in this test optional world, we really want our students to kind of do what's best for them, and we want them to work on their strengths, and whatever test they're more comfortable with, we want them to focus their attention on preparing for that one. Could I meet with my child's counselor myself without my child so I can provide some perspective? My child may not say on their own. Of course, always. We're always open for phone call, Zoom meet. Come on in. I was a counselor for 10 years, and those conversations between parent and the school are very important for the student. So you're always welcome to communicate with us on that. What percent have gotten into a REACH school? That's a really good question. So we don't have that specific data because it's really dependent on each student has a REACH school. So one student's REACH school may be, Penn State, one might be Georgetown, one might be Marist. It could depend, but that is a really good question. I'd almost like to maybe quantify that and maybe look into that if there's a way we can measure that with score. But I don't have an exact percentage of how many get into REACH schools. Is this GPA distribution accessible to parents and students to see? Yes. So our school profiles are all on our website. If someone could add the link to this.
Mr. Bailey, I did already. That's
great.
The next group right there.
Wonderful.
And then the next question was just, can I get the link for this? Is the class of 2023 survey. So that's what you're looking at. Anyway, this is the most recent class. This is last year's graduating class.
Great.
I think he's looking for this year's graduating class, but
the 23.
He said 23, but then it says June's graduating seniors. So I think he's just looking for 24, which we don't.
So on our something we did change though on our school profile this year. So it's going to say class of 2023 school profile, and everything is, and this is every school profile in the country for high schools, is based on the previous year's graduating class. But what we did change this year was the GPA distribution is going to be for the current senior year class. So they can, if I had a 3.3 GPA, they can kind of see where I fall in this year's class. So that is something that we did change this year, and you'll see that noted under the GPA distribution. Will you have more Zoom meetings with admissions folks from universities? I joined one last year and it was very helpful. Yeah, we want to provide more and more of these. We'd like to have we have at least 2 scheduled, and then we have another speaker coming in November, which I don't even think I covered that. So on November 6th, we have Peter Van Busker coming in to give a presentation in the campus center at 7 o'clock. It's a Monday night. It's called the College Admissions Game. And Peter's been doing this for years, and he's very knowledgeable and gives a great presentation and really gives you an inside look on how colleges make decisions. It's interactive. So we invite students and parents to come. It's a great opportunity. I want to thank Mary McCallie, the president of the HSA and the Home and School Association for funding that and supporting that. We're very lucky to have him. Christine Salerno, thank you for getting him. So we'll send you more and more information out on that. But we're excited about that night on November 6th. And then again, 2 weeks later, we'll give our Board of Ed presentation. Mr. Nias and I, we're calling it the State of College Admissions, an update on college admissions from our lens, just to educate the community. But to answer your question, yes, we have plans on having a night for students with IEPs, students who may be looking at 2-year colleges, gap years, other options. 92 to 93% of our kids go to 4-year colleges. If that number decreases, I do not mind. Mr. Nias does not mind. That means that students are going to better fits in where they belong. So that if that's a gap year, if that's working, if that's a community college, we do not look down on that. In fact, I would like the number of 4-year school percentages to go down a little bit, because I think some students may feel a little bit pressured to go away to 4-year schools and maybe aren't ready yet. Okay, so, but we'll give more opportunities, and we're going to bring people in. We have a college speaker series podcast that we just started this year. So far, we've had 2 that's on our website as well. So you can listen to those, and we'll continue to bring in more and more people right into the community so you guys can learn from them directly. Does it improve so we have time for we're probably about 10 more minutes left. So Does it improve the acceptance chances if the school has previously accepted Ridgewood students, i.e. if there is some familiarity, or does it not really matter? Also wanted to say thank you. This is challenging and at times frustrating and draining, so appreciate your guidance and support. Anytime. It's what we're here for, and we love this, helping students through this, and we like all learning more and more about the process because it is ever changing. So I will say this. They track students from the high school that they came from, how they do at their school. So that's good for Ridgewood High School, and I'm not saying every student is a total success. And of course, every student transfers and things happen, but our students, for the mass majority, do very well in school. And in fact, whenever they come back, we do alumni panels all the time. They always say that they feel so, every year, and we don't prompt them, they always say, I feel so far ahead of my peers in writing and math. Like, they always come back and say that. They say they are tutoring their friends and that it's easier than high school. So again, it's not a pat on my back or anything, or that's our teachers and our community and our parents. And but it does help if past students have had success at that college, because the colleges track, retention rates and graduation rates and success rates. So, Ridgewood High School has a very good reputation, and our students are the reason why. Okay. Go ahead, Lauren. I thought you had
just another point to that question. There are specific admissions representatives that read for our area. There are admissions representatives that read specifically for Bergen County. And those are the representatives that come to RHS. They meet with our students, they meet with counselors, and we make a point to develop relationships and network with these people so that our students can get FaceTime with them, and that we can advocate for our students to them. So it's something that we've been doing for years. We have admissions counselors that have been working at certain schools for 15 years, and we know them very, very well. There's also a lot of turnover in the field. So sometimes there'll be a brand new counselor that comes, but we make a point to meet with these people, to get to know these people, and we make sure that our students get to know these people and get some FaceTime with these people as well. So that's really helpful in the process for sure.
And the college fair is slated for March. So we will send out more information on that, but we have that right in Gym 1 at Ridgewood High School. It's open to all students and parents, and we usually have over 100 schools that come right into our backyard. Do all colleges have representatives that focus on Bergen County, or only certain ones? So not all. Some have different regions. Some have like a tri-state region, or a whole state of New Jersey, or some have Bergen County. So it depends on the school. Some of the bigger schools have, just bigger regions that they have to cover. But we really lean on those people, and that relationship building is a big piece of it. So we can talk to them about what we're seeing on our end. We can call them on certain students. We can call them on questions they may have. They can call us. That's really important in this process. So it looks like that may be all for the questions. So I just want to thank Mrs. Salerno, Mrs. Hellman, Mrs. Laureate. All of our counselors are very knowledgeable in the college admissions process, very passionate about it. I learn from them every single day. I lean on them for things. We run ideas by one another. So we will do more of these. I hope this is, by the turnout tonight, we had over 150 people. So that is a record-breaking turnout, I think. So that means we have to do more. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.